Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Fireside Chat series with our retail experts. My name is Caitlin Allen. I'm the SVP of Market at Simbe, and today it is my pleasure to talk to one of the people in the industry that I love listening to most and talking with. Her name is Mezzenga. She does not need any introduction, and you probably know that she's a top retail influencer, an NRF top retail voice, and she's the co-CEO of Omni Talk, which is one of the fastest growing media platforms in retail. Um, and we are going to talk today about why Anne has joined Simbe's strategic advisory board, as well as what she sees for the future of store digitization and shelf digitization, how that ranks on the top priority lists of retail leaders around the world, as well as what some of the top trends are that she's watching today and things that she's excited about in the future. So excited to dive in, and welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have to be a part of this and to have this time with you, Caitlin, and the Simbi team. So thanks.
I'm excited to dive in. So let's just start kind of with some basics. And you've had such an awesome career wearing many hats, and that spans launching OmniTalk, Target Store of the Future, and sitting on multiple technology boards. When you look across all of that, what would you say today is most energizing to you about retail innovation?
I think it's just really looking back, Caitlin, at all that's happened in the last year, even
Mm.
just the pace of acceleration, of change, of improvement in technology, and I think all in all, for me, while sitting across many retail technology teams and boards and being able to hear from them and contribute in some cases to the work that they're doing, for me, it really comes down to how this technology is changing the lives of the associates day to day. And I get to see that in a lot of different ways, from, just reducing daily tasks that they're doing. But most of all, I think it's taking jobs that, I think it's over 75% of Americans have had or do have a retail job. And it's really just for me seeing the impact that that's having on making these jobs more rewarding, making these jobs places that people want to stay at, because they feel valued and they feel like the companies are investing in technology that truly is trying to make their lives and then the lives of the customers that they're serving every day better. So for me, I think that's what keeps me coming back to work every day, is just being able to help the industry understand kind of the benefits that can come from these investments, and that it's not just looking at immediate ROI, labor reduction, and those kinds of things as the KPIs that we should be looking at, but really the KPI of what's the satisfaction of the teams that are on the ground in the stores, and then what does that mean as a result for how your customers are experiencing your brand day to day.
It's such a good point. I think retail is one of the largest, if not the largest employer in the world. So it
Yeah.
touches so many lives. And then there's the fact that all of us who may or may that all of us in kind of normal society, so to speak, we all buy things all the time. So we're
Hmm.
interfacing
Great
with
point.
retail workers. They are the front line of, they're executing corporate strategy in a word.
Right.
And how we interact with them and how they interact with us influences how we go home to our families and how we show up in our jobs too. So it's cascading.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point. But what being part of a board like Simbi's allows me to do, especially as somebody who's really sitting back and analyzing and researching what's going on in the industry, it allows me to get insight from those teams on the front lines. I think one of the things that I loved about Simbi was just how much emphasis you place on really getting in the stores and using that feedback loop that you develop with the teams in the store to really improve the technology. And I like being a part of it because I get that opportunity to see that secondhand too, and really understand like what is the stuff that's most challenging for those people coming into work day in and day out, and what are the things that could most quickly improve those. So I do love
Yeah.
getting in and really getting to be able to be boots on the ground in the stores.
It's also a good point from the perspective of with retail attrition being so high, one of the top drivers
Mhm.
of retail attrition, one of the top 3 is manual repetitive work that characterizes the
Mhm.
day-to-day of so many retail teams. So,
Yeah.
to your point, to be able to get in, link elbows and really improve lives while they're improving shoppers' experience is very rewarding, so I understand what you're saying. From that perspective. And maybe we can shift gears a little bit, and retail workers are obviously in stores.
Mhm.
And to your point earlier, there's a lot of different things going on right now. There always is in retail, from labor challenges to volatility in the supply chain. We've got agents people are talking about, et cetera, et
Yes.
cetera. From your perspective and vantage point in the industry, how important would you say the physical store where these retail workers work is in the midst of all those trends?
Yeah, contrary to popular belief or what we hear about in the media all the time. I mean, listen, the stores are still the heartbeat of these retail operations. They just function a little bit differently and they might look a little bit different than the stores of yesterday. And I think the coolest part about it is that these stores are serving a variety of customers across a variety of need states. And I think that's what's so powerful and impactful about the work that's happening here and getting to see just even again in the last year how we've seen stores evolve when you start to think about shipping from stores and you start to think about stores as pickup points and all the things that can happen inside of there from to try to make that store that one-stop shop for the customer. So I think that for me is the where the real fun is happening is like yes, you have all this on the increase in online activity and agents and things like that, but the real backup for the backup is going into the stores and getting that thing that you need that day. So I think it's really fun to see kind of how different companies are thinking about what that physical location means to them and their brands and how they can best serve the customers with that. So I mean,
Yeah.
I would say that's kind of for me, I think it's still like, Grand Central terminal for all the activities that happen across all the shopping platforms. But I mean, I'm not sure if that's kind of similar to what you're seeing too, but I'd be curious to get your perspective as well.
I mean, you said it really well. I think I would say it probably differently, but it's similar thought process. All roads lead to the store, even if people buy
Hmm.
online. And so much of online inventory itself is tied directly to knowing exact item locations, and that's generally, in somewhere inside of the back of store in the store. Um, and then of course there's the in-store experience too. Are things there? Are they at the right price? And are they where they're supposed to be? So um, from our perspective, a lot of money has been put into the supply chain,
Hmm.
into consumer engagement, into point of sale, and digitizing and collecting data from those. And our perspective is that the fourth pillar of any modern retail initiative is shelf digitization data, because it's where shoppers are making decisions.
Right.
And it's largely a data desert in most stores today, where they know
Hmm.
what comes in and goes out of the physical location, but they don't know what happens at that point of decision.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's what's so cool about technologies like Symbies, who are kind of that like main brain for the store. It's finally giving physical locations the information that they have about their shoppers online or that they have about shoppers who are engaging in social commerce or things like that. Like this is actually allowing them to make movements in the store and change things as quickly as they're able to do in their online platform. So I could not agree more. I think that's 100% accurate. And the other point too, Caitlin, is that I think the other cool part about the stores, and this is more from like the store side and less from the customer side, but
Mhm.
it's also being the smart retailers are treating their stores as a lab for innovation. And that was my favorite part of working on the store of the future at Target. Like we'd have all these ideas or we'd find technology that we'd think we want to test, and we would have teams at headquarters concepting and thinking through all the angles. But when you drop that technology in a store environment, things can be completely different. Unknowns come up that you could never have planned for in a million years, even with the smartest teams working on them. And so I think that's what's really cool to see, and in some of the store tests that we've seen Simbe doing with retailers like Schnucks, where you can drop that in and you get so much information. You get to test that right away. You get visibility into what's happening in the stores, exactly what you were just talking about. But you also get to learn where some of the other opportunities are too. And I think that's the really cool thing that, stores are serving from us on the retailer side, and from that perspective. So
Yeah.
that's the other component that we don't, it doesn't make the news as much in terms of like what kind of results are we seeing from the technology, but it really is functioning as that lab for future innovation for retailers out there testing it in the right way.
It's so well said, Anne, and it's kind of what you were saying about all of the evolution that's happened even in just the last year, and it actually makes me a little bit curious. So you obviously led Store of the Future at Target for some time, and this concept of the future is maybe an overused concept in some respects, but I'm also curious to hear how your concept of the future store has evolved in the midst of all this
Mhm.
evolution that you're seeing. And what are maybe the are there any specific like milestones or critical shifts that you're seeing that's driving the realization of the necessity for in-store intelligence?
Yeah, what I think is really interesting, the first thing would be, how much store formats are changing. I was
Mm,
really surprised. We were just at the Spartan Nash conference, one of your partners in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and to hear even at the most, rural stores with 10 locations, and they're started by they're family owned and operated still, things are changing. And the only way that those retailers are able to stay on top of that is by investing in some of this technology that allows them to see what are people picking up, what are they gravitating towards. We can get that information from point of sale data, by what they buy, but it hasn't been until now that we really can start to understand, like, what happens when you change promotions for those things, or what happens if somebody grabs something off a shelf and then they put it back, and then what are they taking instead. Like, that's the kind of information that, again, we get online but you don't have in the stores, and you don't have in the stores as they exist today. It's really that fourth pillar, like you were talking about, Caitlin, that gives them the information to help them prepare for what's ahead. Even at that conference, and we've been traveling around the world talking to a lot of different retailers, and it's this idea of food as medicine, and
mhm,
really the functional benefits of the things that are being sold in stores today. And the best way that we can set these retailers up for success is tracking all of that data now, tracking what's on the shelves, what's selling out quickly, and being able to really provide a foundation for these retailers to start planning with as much data as they possibly can at their fingertips.
mhm.
And I think that, to me, is one of the trends that we're seeing, that, there's no way to catch up. It's just not something that you can do manually anymore because of things like labor shortages, that you won't have that full picture. And it's going to be really hard to compete unless you're investing in technology like, shelf data, and insights that you're getting from out of stocks and inventory to really make those changes as quickly as you need to.
Yeah, particularly in a world where you're heavily reliant as a retailer on your partners for bringing items into your store.
100%.
I
Mhm.
think, the world we've lived in up until this point is people get information about what products are on the shelf sometimes a month in arrears. How can you serve the customer if it's that delayed? It's really,
Exactly.
it's really exciting to see that change coming down the pike. And you mentioned the fourth data pillar again, and I would love to go back to it really quickly. Um, and like I said, the three main data sources that we're used to relying on in retail is supply chain, point of sale, and then consumer
Mhm.
engagement, like loyalty apps or digital, et cetera. But that the shelf, up until this point, has kind of been a blind spot for many retailers, and it's something that isn't just applicable at the shelf. it's
Mhm.
applicable for in many instances across the retail ecosystem. And with your work of and conversations that you have all the time, I'm curious how you see that fitting into supporting the broader ecosystem that's there to support the shopper experience and empower the store teams, so that they can be productive and enjoy their jobs at the same time.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that you said there, Caitlin, is it's old data. You cannot work off months old
Yeah.
data. And we hear all of this, obviously one of the other trends that we're seeing is the application of AI. None of that. You can use AI to process all of this data in new ways so that you can make that actionable for the store teams. But it really starts with collecting the information. The it's good data in, good data out is the common saying. And so I think that it's really important for retailers to be able to have this shelf intelligence to come in and really be, like you said, that fourth source of information, that fourth dimension of information, if you will, to exactly pinpoint what the next best step is, both from a planning and allocation perspective,
Mhm.
as information sources to feed things like retail media that are going to determine how much money you have to invest as a retailer. Like everything starts with that good data. And so to me, I think, it's really about making sure that that you've got that good source of information and you're using tools and technologies to analyze that, put together a playbook that will be executed successfully in stores, and as a result be there and have product on the shelves and intelligent associates who are able to answer questions, who can say when that item is going to be back in stock if it's not on the shelf today, and who can kind of continue that relationship with the customer, and provide that exceptional experience. And it's really about, some having that viewpoint, which we've never been able to have before technologies like Simbe.
Yeah.
So it's imperative for any retailer's future success.
On the point of retail media, can you imagine if you put money into promoting a certain product at, like, the wrong price, or if the product wasn't on the shelf and then
Yes.
someone came in to buy it in your store
Yes,
and it
I
wasn't
can't
there?
imagine it because it's happening, Caitlin. We just worked with the team to talk about how there's all these retail media buys that, again, they're set months or weeks even in advance, and then when people get to the store or they try to order the product online and it's not available anymore. And again, like these are huge, huge investments that your brand partners are making. And, so on the retail media, you have to be able to pay those off in store, and you have to have real time visibility that, Simbi's
Mhm.
technology is giving you so that you can say with confidence to your brand partner, yes, you're doing a promotion on Kraft mac and cheese, and yes, we have it in stock, and we have more in the back to backfill as needed. But then it's also about, that relationship that you're continuing with the brands and the shared visibility that you get. You mentioned that earlier, Caitlin. I think that's important too. So it's really about you as the retailer, and then your brand partners, that you're doing everything from loyalty promotions to retail media promotions to, just day to day, making sure that you're compliant with what your shelf facings look like. It's all about working off the same dashboard so that you both
Mhm.
know what's there, and you have that visibility 24/7 to be able to react and respond, again, to make sure that that customer has no idea what's going on in the background. They just know, I saw this on social, I want to go in and get that Kraft mac and cheese at the 2 for $4 price point that I saw it advertised at. And you walk into your local grocery store and you're able to completely pay that off and walk out the door. So yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just like, and also the things, once we're able to automate reordering, make more intelligent data-driven merchandising decisions, have better demand forecasting, et cetera, like it opens up so much more space in teams' minds, in teams' calendars to think creatively, to engage in human connection, which is the ultimate stick factor for brands. It's gonna be super fun to see what happens as a result of all of this orchestration that's gonna come to bear.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
well, we already broke the news, I guess, is the best way to say it, that you've agreed to be part of our strategic advisory board. And I have to be honest, you sit on the boards of several retail technology companies, and you are incredibly busy. So I was very humbled, and I know others on our team were too, when you agreed to be part of our strategic advisory board, and apparently need more compliments because I'm going to ask you this question. What was it about Simbi and specifically the problem that we're solving together now that made you want to lean in to joining us?
Well, first of all, I do feel so fortunate to be a part of this, Caitlin. One, because I appreciate the work that you and the Simi team are doing, but also just to be part of the incredible experts that you also have on this board. I mean, many of them idols of mine from retail, who really, I think, are those retail innovators that I was talking about earlier. And so
Mhm.
to just get to hear from them and learn from them myself is number one, a huge honor. And I'm just so excited about that. But I think I have to say, from my perspective, as somebody who has really been involved for the last several years on what makes a retail experience, what makes you want to go to a retail experience. Yes, it's the planning and the investment in technology and data that we just talked about, but for me it was really the first time that I walked into the Schnucks store in St. Louis
Mm,
and seeing Tally roaming the aisles. The first thing that I saw when I walked into was roaming around the bakery section. And as a mom, I saw another mom shopping with her kid who was so excited about the robot. And the first thing that I thought of was like, wow, this robot, this one robot in the store right now is bringing so much joy to the people shopping here. Like this is a reason why. It's like I think about, the old when had my kids were young, it was like the shopping carts that had the race cars on them, like
right.
that determined where we were going to do our grocery shopping. But now I'm like, look at this kid. This kid gets to see a robot roaming the aisles. And so that was like my first impression just walking in. And I was like, oh, that's heartfelt and sweet. But then I started walking the floor with Bob Hardister and Dave Schnook and talking to the store manager. And I was blown away by how much of an impact that robot taking over some of that monotonous, the mundane tasks that that
Hmm.
store team had to do, and the level of accuracy that it was doing it. So it's one thing to put the technology in, but it's quite another to actually for it to actually work right the first time. And I got to see that firsthand, and that right there is kind of what sealed the deal for me. Of one, like this is a technology that, as someone in the retail industry, I need to be following along with because there is staying power here. It was so intelligently organized, and again, the teams that were in the store, the Simbi teams that were there participating with them, you could see the relationships weren't like vendor and retailer. It
Hmm.
was like, no, we together are working to really change what technology looks like in stores and the benefits that it's going to have on our associates and on our customers. And yeah, I think the closing remark. So I saw the mom and the kid, but in closing, as we were ending, it was like this was perfectly orchestrated. But as we were ending, I had a walk with the store manager, and this woman came up, and she was an older woman, and she was like, I can't find this thing. Could you help me? And because that store manager didn't have to go and add price labels, like he completed its whole task of like making sure that he had double checked out of stocks that Tally had found, and he was able to go spend a good 15 minutes with this woman, walking her
Hmm.
through the store, talking to her about her family, making that connection that at the end of the day is still the thing that people come to stores for and why they continue to go back to those stores. So that whole Schnucks experience was just like hands down, this is it. Sealed the deal for me.
Yeah,
I want to be a part of what the team has built. So
I love
that was
that.
a very magical experience. So excited to
Thank you
be
for
part
sharing
of
the
the
story.
future.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a one, it's a powerful anecdote around how much Schnucks sets the bar in many
Hmm.
ways, but
Right.
um, it is all about the human experience, whether it's the humans that are on the store teams, or whether it's the humans that are walking the stores, whether it's the humans that are using the data to provide a better experience for the other groups of people, and it's probably also a nod as well to the human centered design that went into building Tally. I think that
Right.
this concept we're living in the moment where this is arguably America's first introduction to robots in public
Hmm.
spaces, right? And
Yes.
so how people respond to the robot is so foundational to its success, in addition to its form and function as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
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 absolutely. You
I
got a
love
great
that.
team. Yeah,
We
everybody, and
do.
I think that's the other thing. I mean, everybody on the team at Simbe. Remember the first time I met Brad and just hearing him explain, we built this robot. It was a couple friends of mine, and like we had all these ideas coming out of school, and it was like, but he's just, I don't know, he's just so real about it and how they approach solving the problem. It was really about solving the problem, not building the technology first and then trying to figure out how it applied. And so that was a really cool moment. And again, yeah, the entire team is just really smart problem solvers and teammates. So that's the kind of people I like to surround myself with.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that culture really does cascade from the top down. Brett is exceptional. And we're privileged to hear from customers a lot that one of the things that differentiates our approach is the focus on why we exist, as well as our strategic guidance and how they think about using the technology, scaling it across use cases, using it in different departments of their business, et cetera. It's one thing to be an order taker, to try to do all things. It's a
Hmm.
completely different kind of approach to focus on your main thing, and also be a thought partner strategically.
Right. Yeah. And you do that. I mean, it's like I said, it was one of the most visible things right when we walked in the door. And since then, since we've walked in the door with other partners as well, is just how much there's a collaborative nature and really that insight that you give from partnership, from all the partnerships that you have to
Yeah.
each of your retail partners to say like, hey, we've tried this out, or this might be the best way to approach this. Like that's information that retailers just don't get access to right now, and I think they need that reliability in their partners to help them make the best choices.
Well, thank you. You are so knowledgeable and so respected in this space. So it's going to be fun together to amplify the potential that retailers can bring to their business with the technology. And again, just thank you for being part of the
Yes.
advisory board. Maybe we can wrap up and look a little bit towards the future. Um, you are perhaps one of the most cutting edge people in terms of daily trends and things that are early signals in our space. And I'm curious where you think shelf intelligence or shelf digitization will most surprise people in the next couple of years, and
Mhm.
particularly if there's any kind of non-obvious use cases.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it kind of feels like it's hard to even make a prediction from a year from now, Caitlin, because of how fast things have been moving and how much AI has powered
Yeah.
the speed at which things are changing. But I mean, I would hope that in the next 5 years, shelf level intelligence is ubiquitous across retailers. Like I mentioned before, I think in my mind, before that Spartan Nash conference, it was really like, okay, yes, we will see the big players who are testing this type of shelf level technology.
Hmm.
But to hear those small retailers making these big investments and seeing them pay off in this type of technology, just to have inventory visibility, to make sure they have accurate pricing, like that really shifted my perspective on, I think, how quickly we're going to see this stuff roll out. I'm hopeful that we're also going to see teams align in different ways because of
Hmm.
the impact that this technology is having on things like, yes, maybe it's starting and originating with the chief technology officer or chief information officers at retailers, but the impact is coming and the savings are coming from things like labor shortage, like labor and how much they have to, put that giant line item on their P&L every year. Like, so these teams are starting to work together to invest in these technologies. And so I think that's really kind of for me the aha moment of the last few months, where it's like it's not just we're investing in technology, yes it's great, no it's not, and making that call just from the technology kind of pillar, but now really
Hmm.
starting to understand as the technology evolves and as Simbe is partnering with people like the team at Schnucks to say, okay, we built the road, we invested in Simbe, right now Now let's see how many cars we can put on that road and how many more things we can add on so that it's bringing advantages to other departments within the store. That I think is what's really going to push shelf level intelligence forward even more quickly than 5 years, I think, because there just is that much value to it, and really value in having that be kind of the main brain for the store that determines which
Hmm.
tasks need to be done day to day, which investments need to be made beyond that first investment with somebody like Simbe. So to me, it's really about how the it's bringing together the entire retail organization and not keeping people siloed, because the benefits are vast and across all of those areas within a retailer.
I love the phrase "brain for the store," and I think that you've brought up the theme of having one source of ground truth a lot, which is a
Mm-hmm.
really salient point as well. Um, and it's actually so I was recalling as I was preparing for this conversation, if I remember correctly, I believe you called 2024 the year of the robot, and Chris said that it was 2025.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yes.
first,
We
what is
like to
the
place
year
our
of the
bets
robot?
from time to time. Yes.
And we need some healthy tension in that placement. Um, in Q2 of 2025, we saw CapEx investments go up almost 92%. And we also know from earlier this year that investments in store technology have gone up 151% year over year.
Mm-hmm.
Within the context of this year or last year or the next year, whatever, being the year of the robot, all the years, the trilogy of the years of the robot, what what is if you give retail leaders one thought or message about why the robots in the shelf now deserve their moment, what would it be?
I think that it's really about what I was just talking about, Caitlin, and that
Mhm.
is the reason that this is the year of retailers really needing to double down and invest in a robot or shelf intelligence. It's this year because of the capabilities that it unlocks for your entire store and all of the investments that you've made inside of it. It is the single source of truth that will help you with store operations, with your relationships with your brand partners in the store. It's going to serve as that data foundation for other investments that you'll make, especially with things like retail media, as you look to drive other sources of revenue in your store. And finally, I think it is the thing that pays off why your customers are going to store. They want to leave with that item in hand that they came to get. And I don't know that there's anything else as powerful as shelf intelligence technology that is allowing you as a retailer to do that.
Mm. So well said. Thank you for that. Well, I have really enjoyed this, Anne, and like I said, I'm just couldn't over the moon that we get to partner closer together in all the ways. So thank you for being here with us today, and see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much again for having me. And I'm excited to be a part of the Simbe team and cannot wait to see what year of the robots 2026 looks like, Caitlin. That's really why we're here. We're sticking around. We got to see what next year brings. So thanks
Exactly,
again to
exactly.
everybody.
You too. See you soon. Thanks, Anne.
All right. Bye.